Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Uh, Talking about in a few sessions here, talking about the actual Islam, and the actual Islam is what converts needed. But actual Islam is not what we found. Okay? We found a community of Muslims who have left Islam. So I'm trying to clarify this disparity between what the community is and even what Muslim brother is as converts found them compared to actual Islam and what it is that converts need from Muslim brother and from masjid and from community. And so one of the important terms that I've introduced here is operational Islam. Okay? And you can keep using that, operational. Okay? It means, an Islam that gets things done. An Islam that has a mission. Okay? And you can use operational Muslim. Okay? Operational Muslim is not what we found, okay, Muslims spending 23 and a half hours a day in their dunya and then stop by the masjid, throw on a wudu, make salah, and listen to the imam talk for 15 minutes and then go running back to their dunya. Okay, that's not an operational Muslim. An operational masjid, okay, I talked about Medina being a social machine, okay, it was operation, okay, but Muslims, have a place called a masjid, and if we compared it to a factory, it's a factory where everything is broken and nothing works, okay. Um, from the Sahaba until today, all converts have required a community of functioning Muslims, okay. We needed the operational Islam that the Sahaba built in Medina. Okay? And so when I developed the Medina network, okay, I did that built on looking at case study, doing a case study basically, of dozens of converts, and I've known converts since 1987, so I know a long history of what has happened to converts. Okay, and so I built the Medina Network concept on that. But we can't get there without, number one, massive funding, and that's actually the number one thing that funds in Islam are supposed to be used for. Okay, this is in the Quran, and I've had sessions where I talked about that. But our community isn't doing squat. Okay, converts aren't getting support, we're getting zero. Okay, and Allah sees this, that Muslims have ignored and destroyed the most important thing to Allah, right? Your community is jacked up, your people are jacked up, your imams are jacked up, your program is jacked up, your mentality is jacked up, your lifestyle is jacked up, okay? It is obligatory on you to change, and that's really what this is about here, all right? Now, imagine, another example instead of the factory. Imagine walking into a restaurant. Okay, it's Friday night, and you want to enjoy a couple hours after a week of work, right? So you talk to your wife and your kids and maybe the in-laws, and you go jump in the family car, and you're going to go try out a restaurant. All right, but this restaurant is owned by Muslims. All right. Yeah, you know what's coming. Okay, so you walk in, right, and you're standing inside the entry, and there's not a host standing there the way you would find in any other restaurant. And you're standing there, 10 minutes, and you see the workers back in the back corner, and they're standing talking and laughing and chit chatting and blah, 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 and they even look over at you and wave, you know, and just leave you standing there. Okay, that's the way Muslims operate in the community. That's the way the masjid is, and that's like what converts found. All right, Muslims who don't do their job. Okay, so you're standing there, and then you decide, well, I guess we just pick our own table. You know, so you look around, you see a table, and you get everybody sitting down, and you're sitting there another 10 minutes waiting for a menu, and you're kind of twiddling your thumbs and looking sideways at your wife, like, do we really want to be here? And then you see a stack of menus up on the counter, and you just go over and say, well, I guess I'll just help myself to a menu, you know? You grab the menu and go sit down, you're looking at it, and no waiter ever comes over. You don't even have water, you know? Then you see something that sounds tasty, and then you wave at the people standing over there, and finally somebody comes over, and you tell them, well, I think we'd like to have this and that. And the guy says, well, actually, uh, we don't have a cook, um, and we don't have food. But I mean, we have, a can of beans, and we have a couple of eggs in the fridge. Would you like some beans and eggs? Okay. That's how I feel about the masajid. That's how I feel about the Muslim community. Okay. Nothing done, and nothing ever done right. Okay. So we have to change this. Okay, so in the early sessions that I recorded here, I was talking about the foundation of Islam described in Surah Al-Asr, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا. The foundation of being a Muslim is work, and specifically productive work. And that's why I'm using this term operational. Okay? A Muslim, as defined in Islam, is someone who works for Islam, okay, to get things done. You know, I mean, honestly, all of the imams should shut up about any other subject for the next 5 years and just every day talk about Surah Al-Asr. Because Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah described this surah as something that is sufficient for your deen. If you understand this 3 verses, this short surah that we teach children when they're 5 years old, if you understand this, then you build your Islam on it. But today's Muslims don't. And as I've talked about before, when Muslims reject amal, when you reject work and effort, it means that you make Islam impossible for yourself. You will not develop. You make Islam impossible for your family, and you become a burden on the community. You stay in kindergarten level Islam your entire life, and you made Islam impossible for the community because nothing can get done. Okay? And that is written in your book, and you're going to have a serious, serious list of problems Yom al-Qiyamah. And I've talked about this, okay? Let me move forward a little bit here. You know, imagine now that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees what has happened. The convert, as Allah describes in the Quran, وَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا إِنَّنَا سَمِعْنَا مُنَادِيًا, okay? The convert has heard about Islam. We didn't know anything about Muslims. We didn't know that they left Islam. We didn't know that they're ignorant people. We didn't know that they're dysfunctional people. We didn't know they'll spend their entire lives not developing and refusing to work for Islam. We knew nothing about this. But here we are, many of us have made hijrah. I mean, a high percentage of converts, myself included, for decades. We became Muslims, and then very soon we realized we have to move somewhere, trying to find a community, and we can't even find one, okay? Because Arabs and days are a disaster. It doesn't matter which of the 2,500 masajid you go to, It's useless for converts, okay? But imagine what Allah sees. The convert comes in and we are exuberant, we are happy with Allah's deen, and we are committing so much time and effort to learning Allah's deen, and we're not finding help. We're finding that restaurant that has no host and no waiter and no cook and no food, okay? And this has been going on for decades. That's how useless Arabs and daisies are, okay? And Allah sees this, all right? So imagine the pain and loneliness that converts are in, and the Muslim brother, he's happy to just leave us like that. I talked about this yesterday. They don't care if you're alone, suffering in life, a year, 5 years, 20 years, or 500 years. They don't give a shit, okay? And that is not Muslim brother. It's important to use language to actually describe things. The Imams have talked about this, the Imams of the Ummah, okay? It is not Muslim brother who leaves you alone in this life. I talked yesterday about what normal human beings do every day. They will immediately start organizing your fellowship and some support and getting you connected and getting you moving, and then they will work with you until you have the solutions. And I'm going to skip forward now, because where I jumped off yesterday was a couple of hadith. And I've talked about how today's Muslims don't have the reality of the Sahaba. The Sahaba were converts. Their lives depended on each other. That is actual brotherhood, okay? Today's Muslims don't have any concept. Even the so-called Imams, they have zero concept of this. None, okay? And that's why you won't find empathy for converts, even with the so-called Imams. Because, number one, they don't know anything about Islam in this subject. I'm literally teaching Imams and Muftis because the knowledge and understanding of it has been lost, okay? Converts typically won't find empathy because the Imams, they know nothing about us, okay? And I mean, here we are, we're in a state of emergency. I talked about this. When a human being loses the people in their life suddenly, that is called an emergency. Emergency. Great big capital letters. Emergency. Human being alone in the world. Emergency, 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 emergency. And any human beings on earth understand this, but not the trash Arabs and the trash daisies. Okay? That's the reality. So in this hadith, extremely important now, Imam an-Nawawi rahimahullah is known, for his clarity and his ability to summarize the most important things in Islam. And that's why for 750 years, the Ummah has been reading his 40 ahadith, okay? Because he was, rahimahullah, a hafiz al-hadith means that he has memorized over 100,000 ahadith. And he hand-selected 40 ahadith that to him were critical in Islam, okay? So we're going to get to one of those. But here you have Rasulullah ﷺ describing, okay? Wallahu fi aun al-abd. Allah is in the support of his servant, okay? Ma kana al-abd fi aun akhi. Okay, as long as and as much as the servant, the Muslim, is in the support and aid of his brother. This doesn't mean, may Allah make it easy for you. Okay, that's garbage Islam. Okay? That is garbage Islam, but that's what you hear from Arabs and daisies. Okay? Actual Islam The Islam of the Sahaba is, you have a problem, that means we have a problem. You are my brother. Okay? That's that's what this hadith is stating. Get Islam figured out because converts need it. We're in emergency, having our lives destroyed. Wake up. You need to get off the train that's going to Jahannam and get on the train going to Jannah by becoming the Ansar of the mission of Dawah, the Ansar of the converts. And this extremely important hadith that so many Imams of the Ummah have talked about, and Imam Nawawi rahimahullah selected this. Okay? And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam called, La yu'minu ahadakum. None of you has actual Iman, complete Iman, effective Iman, useful Iman. حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. Until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. And again, this doesn't mean, oh brother, may Allah make it easy for you. Oh brother, I really wish Allah will give you everything good. Okay, that's bullshit Islam and bullshit Muslim. That's a Muslim who wants their Islam talking, but they won't lift a finger in their life. That's a fake Muslim. Okay, and that hurts. All right? That's the kind of trash we have to get rid of and start doing Islam before every Muslim you know ends up in Jahannam. I'm going to continue this later, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.